Good evening, everybody. I'm just laughing because I looked at the forecast for tomorrow, and in the last 2 days they've changed it like three times. I mean, it's very very funny what watching what they're saying that the temperature is going to be here tomorrow. So anyway, before we get into anything, I just want to say welcome, welcome. To remind everybody that this is a very family friendly oriented channel. I would ask you all to please be decent in the chat. No racism, no nastiness. If you cannot abide by those very simple, easy rules, those awesome people lit up in blue with the blue wrenches will boot you out of here because we are not going to tolerate that. So we got Yvonne is in here. Hello, Yvonne. Kathy, Nostradamus, Janet's in the house. JJ, Morning Light, DramaTube TV. Patty's in the house. Hey, Patty. Benjamin. Welcome, everybody. Glad to have you all here. Oh man, I tell you what. We're gonna talk. I've been watching so much stuff, and it's weird how depending where you're getting the information, how. And I'm gonna give you an example of something. Okay, I'm gonna give you an example of something. But I want to start out. I want to start out talking about. I don't know if you guys had seen that the fire chief in Los Angeles has been fired. Well, she's been relieved of her position. So because she's in the fire department, they can't just fire her. But she's been relieved from her position by Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, and so she gets to stay in the fire department, but she'll take a lesser position now. And they were saying that she was fired because of her handling of the fires that happened in Los Angeles, right? If you guys remember, she was very openly critical of Bass's leadership during those fires. Because if everybody, just to kind of give you a refresher, Bass went on a trip to Guyana in Africa while. Yeah, but she's also, yes, a product of DEI. Yeah, I knew that as well. But what I'm saying is she was openly critical of the mayor, okay? And she because of that criticism, the mayor waited and now got rid of her from that position because how dare she question what they do, which I think is it's amazing to watch that. So I watched another thing. We're gonna bounce around here, guys, because I think there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. And they had President Trump was having some, I don't know if it was a luncheon or whatever it was, but he had all these governors from all these different states. And so he had said they were talking about the ban on genetically male, even if somebody was transgender, could not play in women's sports. So it was banning the transgendered people from playing in women's sports, right? And so Maine has basically come out and said, well, we're not going to abide by that. We're going to still do what we want to do. And I think California was the other one. But the governor of Maine was at this luncheon, okay? And so he talked with her directly, right? And he said, I understand, he says, that you're not going to plan on complying with the federal, law, or the federal mandate. And she goes, well, we go by state and federal law. He goes, we are the federal law, is what he told her. And he says, well, and it was the way he handled it was so awesome. He's like, well, if you don't do it, if you don't comply with it, you'll get no federal funding. You will receive no federal funding. And I'm going to remind you of something else that happened, and I've talked about it on this channel before, of somebody, a state, that would not comply with a law and received no federal funding until they complied. So hold on, and we'll go over that again. And I've talked about this before, but I wanted to, yes. And she goes, well, she goes, I'll see you in court. And he goes, I look forward to it. He goes, it'll be easy. And it was great. Just the way he handled it was great because, you have to go by what the federal law says. And these people just think they can continue to do whatever they want to do with no repercussions, which I think is awesome. So I'm going to remind you of this one. And I know people are going to go now, oh, yeah, I remember you talking about this, and you're going to remember what state. So I'm not going to ask you what state ahead of time, but I'm going to just go ahead and share this with you. So the last state to make Martin Luther King Day a federal holiday was Arizona. Okay. And the only reason that Arizona decided to make it a federal holiday was because the federal government said, unless you make Martin Luther King Day a holiday in your state, you will no longer receive federal funding. So that's what made them comply and go, okay, we'll make it a holiday. But yeah, Arizona was the last state. And I know a lot of people, when I asked that question before, they thought like, Mississippi or someplace down there. And that was not the case at all. It was Arizona was the last one and only did it under threat of federal funds. So um, Trump needs to clean the chaos in New York. Yeah, well, New York City's a mess. It is a mess. New York State is a mess. To be honest with you, I can't even begin to tell you guys how happy I am not to live in New York State anymore. It is amazing. All right, so I'm going to talk about real quickly because I thought this is really interesting as well. Because, like I said, I've been watching a lot of stuff and a lot of information coming in. Kash Patel just got confirmed. I don't know if you guys saw that. The Vice President DJ Vance was there for that swearing in. So really, the pieces are all falling into place, which the Democrats could do nothing about except grandstand, try to delay these confirmations as long as they can. And it's time to clean up the garbage. I think it's amazing that at this point in time, and we're gonna, like I said, I'm gonna bounce. There's a lot of things I want to talk about. So I think it's amazing that now all of a sudden, right now, all of a sudden the left is go, ooh, Trump is going to weaponize the Department of Justice and the FBI and the CIA to go against his political enemies. And I've said this before as well. Okay, isn't that exactly what the left and the Democrats did against Trump? Weaponize the DOJ, weaponize the CIA and the FBI against Trump. Isn't that exactly what they did? Now all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, that would be terrible if he's going against his political opponents. They did it to him. Why is it not okay that it goes the other way? That see, this is the thing that kills me um, with these people. The hypocrisy at its finest. Exactly. Okay. It is insane to sit back and watch and try to justify the things that they're doing. Hey, Mark, welcome, welcome. It's for them to justify the things that they're doing. It amazes me. It really does because they're looking like a bunch of morons is what they're really looking like, and so holding judges accountable, right? Yep, yep. I know it's the whole thing is really interesting to watch, and just to see how things are playing out. All right, so I'm going to talk about something here right now. I want you guys, yes or no, if you've seen this. Did you see in the news that the in Australia, JJ, would you take care of that, please? Thank you so much. Um, did you see in Australia that China was holding military drills out in international waters off of Australia's coast? So, yes or no, did you see that in the news or not? We'll give you guys a minute to. So I don't know if you guys saw that in the news. So we got a bunch of people are saying no. Some people are saying yes. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example of how things are done. Okay, and I'm not going to mention the channel's name because I don't, I'm not looking to hammer on anybody. That's not what I'm looking to do. But anyway, so what has happened right now? China had like a bunch of warships about 100 nautical miles off the coast of Australia doing live fire exercise. Now, It's not unheard of, but it's been a while since something like that has happened. Okay. Is it an intimidation factor? I would have to say yes. It's being done for a purpose. Okay. It's being done to show we're here, we're strong, and there's nothing you can do about it, right? So it's definitely a game, right? Okay. So when they did this, what Australia did is they rerouted their in the airspace. Okay, they rerouted the airspace for where this was happening. They also Australia sent a frigate out to monitor this activity. Now, China's in international waters, so it's not illegal. They can't, they can't say, well, they're in our territory, they can't do this. They were in international waters. Now, there was a YouTuber, and I watched the piece on it, and the way he reported it, which I thought was quite interesting. Okay, he was like, fear fear tactics with this thing. Oh my God, China's doing live exercises off of the coast of Australia, and Australia was forced to change their air, their air, their flights in that area because they were doing live fire and it was dangerous. All doing stoke fear, and I don't think that that is healthy. I honestly don't. All right, and like I said, I'm not going to tell you what channel because I'm not like looking to bash anybody or anything like that. But the way that it was reported from this YouTuber was vastly different. Okay, vastly different from the information that I saw that was released by Australia. Okay, so I find that fascinating how people can take the same information, which our government does all the time, the left and the right does it all the time, and the information is released and they spin it a different way. Okay. So it's something that happens constantly. So when I tell you guys, when I share something with you, or if you see something, I'm always going to encourage you to do your own research on these things because there's so much stuff out there, and there's so much misinformation. I'm going to give you another example. Okay, going back to the fire chief in Los Angeles, I saw. Hey, Robert, welcome, welcome. I saw another article, which obviously is not true. Okay, came out and was saying that she was found stabbed to death in her home, and they believe it was her partner who's now missing that did it, or her wife or whatever, whoever the woman that she's with. So again, that would be like national news. Fire chief stabbed to death in home, blah blah blah. But you're not hearing that. So this little blurb of an article came out, and I saw it, and I'm like, well, that's interesting. And then I saw, today that Bass had fired her from that being the head of the and yes, she was a DEI hire, of course, a lesbian woman in the fire department, and all that type of stuff. But if she can do the job, she can do the job. I don't like I said. I honestly, guys, I don't care who it is. If they can do the job, then let them do the job. Okay. Now I don't know, if it was like I said, I from what I'm understanding, she was a DEI hire, but she bucked the system going against Bass, and so that's why she's been relieved of that position now. So she's still in the fire department. She's not eliminated. It also should be merit based. All of it should be merit based on how long you've served, what your credentials are, what you've done, not because of what sex or sexual preference you have or what color you are. It shouldn't have nothing to do with any of it. But yeah, DEI didn't earn it. And it seems like that happens quite a bit. I will tell you guys a true story. All right, I took care of a gentleman. Now he retired. Okay, so to put it into context, I was in my 20s when I took care of this gentleman. We're talking a long time ago. Okay, he's long dead now. He had retired from Eastman Kodak in 1967. Okay, that's when he retired. Like, so 2 years after I was born, this gentleman retired from Eastman Kodak. Now, when I was in my 20s, I was doing some private duty work, taking care of him and his wife in their home. And he told me, and this is, like I said, this is coming from the horse's mouth, guys. So this is somebody that was in a position of power. He was the head of industrial relations for Eastman Kodak. So he had an important job. He was a bigwig. He wasn't some peon nobody. He was somebody that was in like, he would get his hair cut every 2 weeks. Super, super intelligent man. I mean, even though his body was breaking down around him, his mind was sharp as a tack. I'll never forget this guy. His name was Gene. Had so much respect for this guy. It was unbelievable. Well, before I go on real quick, we're at 251 in the chat, guys. We got 88 thumbs up. If you have not shot a thumbs up yet, please do so to show support for the channel. I do appreciate that. It really does make a huge, huge difference with the algorithms. So the more interaction that we can have for the channel, the better it is. So I do appreciate it for that reason. Again, if you are not subscribed to the channel, I would ask you to please subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell icon to get all notifications as well, and I thank you for that. So going back to the story with him, he said, Ed, he said, the reason I retired from Eastman Kodak at that point in time, they had brought in affirmative action. Remember that? Everybody's got to remember, in the 60s, they did affirmative action. You had to hire a certain amount of people of color and the whole 9 yards. This is what he told me. So this is coming directly from a boss's mouth that dealt with this situation. He said, Ed, we had to hire these folks. We would catch them sleeping in a closet. They're supposed to be working, right? We would catch them sleeping in a closet. He goes, and we were not allowed to fire them because they were black. Now, to me, that's insane, okay? I believe everybody should have an opportunity. Everybody should have an equal shot at whatever, okay? But if you screw up and you get caught doing something that you shouldn't be doing, stealing, sleeping, whatever it is, okay, I think that, there's the door, my friend. Out you go. That's how it's got to be. So, it's amazing to me. And he goes, that's why I retired. He goes, because it was such BS. He goes, I couldn't deal with it anymore. Now that's nuts. That's nuts. They would catch these people sleeping and couldn't fire them. What does that tell you? What do you think happens, right? What do you think happens to productivity, to other people that are working, that are doing the job? What does that do to morale, right? Oh my God, this guy's a piece of garbage, gets caught, and they get to stay. I told you another thing that happened to me personally, right? I was a charge nurse on the night shift. I was working in an Alzheimer's dementia unit. I don't know why I always ended up in those kind of places, but that's kind of what happened. I always ended up in those type of situations because I could handle it and it didn't bother me. With it and stuff like that. And I had caught a girl sleeping at work. Okay. And so I had turned that in and wrote her up for sleeping on the job. Now, my nurse manager was black. I don't give a crap what color my nurse manager was. That's her job. I respected her position, the whole 9 yards. Okay. Um, I worked with white people. I worked with black people. I worked with Hispanic people. I never have cared who's who. But if you're sleeping on the job when you're supposed to be working, that's a problem. Okay. I'm sorry. I don't care who you are. And you don't get a pass for that. I'm not on my watch. Okay. And I told you what ended up happening. I turned her in. The next thing you know, I'm the racist because, I'm white and she's black and, blah, 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 blah. And guess who ended up losing their job? So, you have to learn, unfortunately, that the game is the game. And sometimes you just got to shut up and not see nothing. And it sounds terrible. And it doesn't help the coworkers that are actually doing their job. But if you make waves, a lot of times you're the one that's going to go. And that's reality, folks. I mean, that's just reality. So I like what they're doing now that it is performance based, absolutely. I love that. There should not be any more of this other stuff. The opportunities are there if you're willing to work hard and get ahead and put in the effort. Yeah, play it like Sergeant Schultz, right? Exactly. Just that's how it should be. And that, like I said, I'm just giving you my opinion from what I have seen. But so there's a lot going on around the world right now. There is the whole situation now. Supposedly tomorrow. Oh, here's something else that I find interesting. So I did my video earlier today, and I talk about the Gaza Strip. And we're going to talk about that a little bit here too during this stream. We'll bring that up here in just a second. And I've watched lately, if I do any videos based on like Ukraine, or if I do any videos based on Israel, the Gaza Strip, man, the views are like way, way down. Do you think it's because people aren't interested in that? I don't think that's what it is. I think that's YouTube. And again, allegedly, not saying for sure, not putting that information out there for people to see. So I'm going to talk about that right now in this one. So everybody knows that Trump had said, hey, listen, we'll take over the Gaza Strip. I think we'll put these people into Jordan and Egypt, put them there because there's nothing for them to go back to, right? And so what is a direct result of that? Everybody's, oh my God, no, we can't have the United States taking that over. And what is a direct result of that is that all these Arab nations over there, Jordan and Egypt and the Emirates and Saudi Arabia, they're all getting together. Okay. They're all getting together and they're trying to come up with their own plan for the Gaza Strip, right? Which also does not include the Palestinian Authority, all right, is being in charge anymore, or Hamas in the Gaza Strip. So they're trying to come up with that kind of a plan. Now, the reality is this with the Gaza Strip. They basically have said they would be like a three-stage thing for redoing the Gaza Strip. For the first 6 months, it's getting rid of all the destroyed buildings and stuff. So they got to clean all that crap out of there first before they do anything else. So there's 6 months right there. That's what their time frame is. Then it would be redoing all the infrastructure, which could take another 6 months, and then finally starting to rebuild homes in that area. So where are all these people going to go in the meantime when there's nothing to go home to? So if you lived in northern Gaza Strip, there's nothing there to go home to. So you saw the caravans of people all heading back, right? Back up into the and God, thank you. Gaza's not our problem. Exactly. I agree. But the thing is what Trump has done is, which is brilliant, which in my opinion is brilliant. They don't want us over there, right? They don't want us over there. The Arab nations don't want us over there being in control of anything. So now they have to come up with a way to do it so that we're not there, which I think is brilliant on President Trump's part. It's like, you throw those fishing lines in the water and you see what bites. The estimated cost to do all that is like $53 billion. So the news is reporting that there's a misunderstanding of communication about the release of hostages. Well, there was Israel was upset because the one body, the female that was supposed to be released, was not released. Israel was upset the way that the caskets, if you will, were paraded around. So I knew that they were upset about that. Now tomorrow, technically, supposedly 6 live uh, hostages are supposed to be released. So we'll see if that happens. I think Israel's going to take so much, and then that's going to be the end of that. Pam in Wonderland says, I don't feel like it's our problem to save the world while the U.S. is drowning. And I do agree 100% with that statement. 100% I agree with you. We need to take care of our problems here. You know, uh, Yeah, Yvonne, they were cheering in the streets. Yeah, I remember when that whole attack happened with Israel and they had the hostages, and the people in Gaza were cheering. They were happy about what their people had done. 100%. I remember that. And now that they got their butts handed to them, and I mean handed to them, now they're the victims, which is just amazing to me. I mean, what is enough retribution, right? When is enough enough? And do you let the same people stay in charge that want to do the same thing over again? I don't think you do. But it's really really interesting. The whole thing. Gaza Strip sounds like something AOC might have done to make money when she was a bartender. Oh my god, that is hilarious. That is hilarious. So, but again, you know, the situation over there, and I agree, it's not our problem. We should not be getting involved. Let Israel deal with that situation. That's their issue. They didn't attack us. And but the whole situation. I mean, we need to support Israel. Don't get me wrong, 100% support them. Give them whatever they need to take care of what they need to take care of. Not give, but sell them, I guess. But yep, let's stay out of the way and let Israel take care of business. And I think Israel is going to, when they release the caskets of those baby, uh, they were they were strangled. The people were cheering in the streets. I think they're evil. Yeah, that whole situation was nuts. Killing little kids, I mean, just for the sake of killing them because they're different than you. War is a vicious thing. Okay, war is a vicious thing, and I have come out and said, if I'm in charge, I go scorched earth, uh, and that's everybody who's the enemy. Once we've determined who the enemy is, I'm a scorched earth guy. Sorry, because they don't grow up to hate you and want to kill you later on. Because if they're not there, that's just me. That's just my opinion. And you guys can think whatever you want, but I just somebody says Bruce Willis passed away. I hadn't heard that. I mean, I know he's got dementia, bad, bad got dementia, but he was still walking around. So I don't know. I hadn't heard anything, but it's things are done a lot of times for psychological reasons. It's a mind game. It's an intimidation thing. Uh, you know, but yeah, you just gotta you have to pay attention to the situation, look what's going on, and JJ said no, Bruce Willis is not dead. Yeah, I hadn't heard anything about that, so I didn't think so. I mean, I know that he is not any got any idea who he is anymore or anything like that. War is hell, but strangling babies with your bare hands is another level of evil. I don't disagree. I do not disagree with that. So no, I definitely don't. It's just like even with the when the war was happening, right? Think about this. Think about when the whole thing started. Israel even told the people, "Get out. We're coming. Get out." Right? And then when they went in and bombed and did what they did, then now the other people are the victims. If you're giving people ample time and ample warning that they need to get out of a situation, you know, um, do you think we did? So let's look at us. Let's go with America. When we were bombing Germany during World War II, did we let them know that we were coming to bomb a certain city at a certain time? No, we did not. Did we kill women and children and old people? Absolutely, yes, we did. Okay, because war is not a game, and you have to defeat not only the troops, but you have to defeat the will of the people to fight against you. So there's a lot that goes into it that a lot of people, if they're not in there getting their hands dirty or been in a worse situation or know what goes on, and then it's easy to sit back in the back and say, well, they committed war crimes or the people did this. Benjamin says, I still expect a big sleeper cell attack. or some grid down event, Ed, and that's scary. I don't disagree with that at all. And I have said, and I will continue to say, my personal biggest concern is an attack on the power grid that's going to leave us down for an extended period of time. Those great big huge transformers, guys, that take 18 months to get, that are not even made in the United States of America, right? They're not even made here. So it's not like if there was an attack and they went after those. Now think about that. You went after those certain units that take forever to get made and they're not even here. You attack those, it's not like they got 4 or 5 of them sitting in the back room ready to go roll them back out. They don't. So, that would be a situation that would be really, really bad, really fast. And I've laid that scenario out. Let's talk about that a little bit more. I want you to think about this. And I did my one video that I did, that went viral, was I said 90% of people will go to FEMA camps willingly, and here's why. And I'm gonna break that down to you again in this live stream. It's been a while since I talked about that. Okay. Um, so real quick though, we're at 270 in the chat. We're at 151 thumbs up. So again, if you have not shot a thumbs up yet, please do so to show support for the channel. And I thank you ahead of time for that. I do appreciate it. It really does make a huge difference with the algorithms. And again, if you are not subscribed to the channel, I would ask you to please subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell icon to get all notifications as well, because I'll never put it automatically on all. You have to click on the bell and then select all. So, all right. If we had a major attack on our power grid, all right, where, the power grid went down and it was going to be down for an extended period of time. Couple things. This is what would happen. There would be chaos to start with, absolute chaos, disruption in everything, folks. First of all, let's just kind of break it down nice and easy. You want to go to the grocery store, right? Well, everything is electronic. They scan everything. You got your scanner and you're scanning everything. You're probably, a lot of people have done the self checkout, right? You're scanning it yourself. Scanners aren't going to be working because there's no electricity. There's nothing, right? So how are they going to sell the goods that are in the store? Number one, most likely not going to happen. People are going to go in there and they're going to loot and they're going to take whatever they want, because now they're in panic mode, because that's what's going to happen. People are going to panic when they realize, holy crap, this is an event that's affecting a lot of people. All right. And it's not just one limited area. It would be, let's say it would be nationwide or half the nation or whatever the case may be. So that's number one. Number two, any of the cities, right? Any of the cities, water's not going to be working because that's run with electricity. It's not gravity fed, it's electricity fed. So as soon as those pumps are turned off, no more water going anywhere. So now you're talking about no water to drink, right? There would be no water for septic or anything like that. And where's all that waste going to go? I mean, it's just a nightmare. And now, because so many places like New York that want to go all electric for everything, like all new construction can't have gas, because your propane would still work, right? You could still turn on your propane or your gas stove and heat your apartment that way if you had to. But because now they're getting rid of all of that, now all you would have would be your electric stove, which is not going to help you because there's not going to be any power. So people would be freezing to death in their own homes. There would be no water, no food. It would be complete and utter anarchy in a hurry. Now, hospitals, let's talk about hospitals. Hospitals have backup generators, right? Those backup generators gives them like an extra, I don't know if it's 3 days or a week of power, something in that range. So they would have this backup generator and power to be able to keep the hospitals going. Well, the hospitals would be inundated with a ton of people. You would have to have the military come in, and what they would have to do, and this is my opinion on this part of it, okay? I believe that the military would come in and they would set up areas that were safe zones, if you will. okay, controlled by, the Army, the Marines, the Navy, whoever. And they would set up these safe zones where, okay, if you come in here, right, and this is where FEMA comes into play. If you come in here, you're going to disarm. You're not going to walk in here with weapons. So if you come into that area, we're going to have showers, we're going to have power, all those type of things. People are willingly going to lay down their arms and they're going to go to those areas. Absolutely going to happen. Absolutely going to happen. Um, yeah, isn't that interesting? Serenity Sealed. Yeah, I know. Um, so that's how they would do that to control people. Because realistically, this whole younger generation, when I say younger generation, I'm talking about anybody under probably 35 at this point now. Okay. They've never grown up without computers and cell phones and laptops, and automatic everything right there. And when that would go down, they'll lose their minds. See, my generation, we didn't grow up with any of that. I mean, when I got older, then pagers came out, right? We had pagers to start out with, and everybody had their pager, and somebody would text them on their pager, and you'd look, and then you'd have to go to the phone. There's no cell phone or pay phones, realistically, not any, hardly any anymore. There used to be pay phones everywhere because that's how people did it. Well, then they got cell phones. Now the pay phone went to the way of the dinosaur, okay? And so they got rid of a lot of those. But when the first cell phones came out, they were big things like this that you held up like that. I mean, they were huge, that you had this pack that you plugged into your car, and only very wealthy people had them at that point in time. So it's been a progression to get to where we are now, where everybody's got their phone. Everybody's got their phone. They have it attached at their hip, which, and I'm just as guilty as everybody else. I'm not like saying, you know, I'm better than you because of whatever. No, I have it too. But if it went off tomorrow and wasn't coming back on, I'd go, oh, okay, well, that's the end of that. But a lot of people couldn't handle that. So psychologically, they're not ready for that. So if somebody was offering, if you come here, we have the amenities and we can help you, but you have to basically give up all of your rights, people are going to willingly do that. The other thing I was saying with that situation, now my children are grown, right? But let's say you have small children and you're out here and you're living and you're like, screw them, I'm not going in and I'm not going to comply and I'm not going to do that. Well, now your child gets sick or they're in a situation where they need life-saving medical care. Well, you're probably not going to be getting that out in the bush, okay? So you would have to go and take that child in, and you would have to give yourself up as well to save your child. And I don't know a whole lot of parents that are going to let their child die for a principle. They're going to do everything that they possibly could to get that child to survive, and including sacrificing themselves. And that's the reality of that, okay? You think about just the ramifications of no food traveling, because we have distribution centers across the country where every single day trucks are moving, they're loading up, trains are loading up with food and supplies and bringing that to where they need to go. Well, with a grid down situation, no goods are going anywhere because there's no gas you're not pumping any gas. So whatever gas is at the gas station very quickly would be gone because people wouldn't be able to pump it. So what they'll do is they'll pull those covers off and they'll siphon out as much gas as they possibly can. That's what you're going to see happen. And so those gas stations that are all over the place very quickly will have no gas. That's a fact. I mean, it's just a fact, guys. And the cops and all the EMTs and all those people and doctors and nurses, for the most part, you think they're going to stay on the job, or are they going to go home and take care of their own families? They're going to go home and take care of their own families, especially law enforcement. And I don't blame them because that's what their priority should be, is their own family, you know. And when there's no rule of law, boy, it changes everything. It changes everything. I had somebody, when I talked about certain things before, they were like, well, if you shot people and you did this or that, after law was reestablished, then you would be charged. And it's not going to happen like that. It doesn't happen like that. you know, because you do what you got to do in that type of situation. And who's there to judge you? You know what I mean? Realistically, who would be there to judge you? There's nobody there to judge you. Nobody's going to say, oh, okay, you know, on this day, Prepper Nurse 1 shot 3 people that were trying to steal his stuff, and that was illegal. He shouldn't have done that. Nobody's going to care, you know? Nobody's going to care. So it's just, people have no idea how bad things will be in that type of a situation. They have no idea. Martial law would be prevalent, but exactly. But the thing is, there's only so much they can control, Angela. Only so much they can control. You would be justified with no rule of law, stand your own ground. Absolutely, JJ. Absolutely. Even if they impose martial law, okay? Because we've had this argument before. Okay, we've had this argument before. So martial law is imposed, right? Well, they can't control everything, which is absolutely 100% true. You're right. They can't control everything, but they can control the highways. That's an easy one to control. They can control the cities. That's another easy one to control because you lock it down. You look at New York City. New York City is an island, folks. Okay, 8 million people on the island, right? 8 million. So what do? Cut off the bridges, you cut off the tunnels, and you don't let anybody go in or out. Period. There's that. End of travel. Nobody's going anywhere. And so, you know, they're screwed. They're absolutely screwed. Now, if you're trying to jump on the highway, right? Think about this. You think about, remember, you've ever come up on a highway, you're driving, and now your exit comes up, and you have to go off and you go around a loop like this to get to the next thing. Do you know why that is? Right? Is that for convenience or whatever? No, because if you have to slow down to go there, it's easier to make a choke point there if you're the military to stop travel. It's not like you can drive straight through them because you can't, because you got to go around this big loop and you got to slow down and all that type of stuff. It is, yeah, they will just fence you in. Absolutely. Absolutely. They'll fence you and control, they'll control the cities. They will have safe zones, they'll call them, right? If you come here, we can keep you safe and protected. And then out here, you know, out in, you know, the country and stuff like that, I think a lot of people would say, screw that, I'm not going. I'm going to stay where I'm at and just do my thing. And it's going to be back to the way it used to be, where you respect your neighbors, you try to work together and stuff like that. They are putting roundabouts all over here, Delbert said. Yeah, exactly. And those are done for a reason, Delbert. They're done for a reason. They're always done for a reason. So, you know, the reality is it would be brutally difficult to survive in a post event situation, not just because we didn't have power, okay? Not just because we didn't have power, but everything that goes along with it because we don't have power. And the fact, and I've said this one before, and you guys will remember the number, 93% of the people in this country are not prepared for a 2 week disaster, let alone anything longer. Let alone anything longer. So they're not ready in any way, shape, or form. So, you know, it's the worst possible scenario that could happen in this country. And do I believe it's coming? I absolutely do believe at some point we will deal with a prolonged grid down situation, be it from within our own government, being from within our own country with sleeper cells, or somebody coordinating attacks in the country. And then, like I said, and I've said this before, then all they got to do, they don't even need to invade us. They just sit back and wait. That's all they got to do. They sit back and wait. Uh, think about New York City, Los Angeles, Chicago, you know, any major city, Atlanta, you know, any major city out there with a tremendous amount of people, right? What do you think? How quickly will it turn bad in those places? How quickly do you think it'll turn bad? You know, it'll be awful really, really quickly. And then anybody trying to escape that and trying, you know, we've all heard the Golden Horde. The Golden Horde will ascend upon the country and eat everything. No, they won't. No, they won't. They're going to stay where it's familiar until they realize, holy crap, we need to get out, but now it's too late. Now they can't get out. So they're screwed. Some will get out, but where are they going to go? Again, I've talked about this. Where are they going to go? Where are they going to go? Do they have a plan? Do they have some place? Now, there's plenty of people out here that do have a plan, and they have a place that they're going to go, and they're going to try to get there. Okay, they're going to try to get to their bug out location or where they think that they're going to be safe. Um, and people do have those plans. Don't get me wrong. And the government, they're already squared away. They got places where the elites are going to go to bunker down and hunker in and ride out the storm. So again, so somebody just said south for the warmth. Okay, so let's say it happens, winter hits, right? Nobody's traveling in that winter. Nobody's going anywhere. By the time the next spring comes around, a lot less people will be around at that point in time. And a lot of those people that are left will head south because they know they can't make it through the next winter because, again, they're unprepared. Now, there are plenty of people out there that are preppers that have the wood stove and have a lot of wood and you know and all those type of stuff. They'll ride that winter out. They'll come out. They'll plant again. They'll get they'll gather wood. They'll do what they got to do, and get ready. And they'll stay. They'll stay up there because they know in the long run it's actually safer to be there because it's so impassable in the wintertime for other people to get to them. And that's what they'll do. But again, and I've talked about this before, if you're thinking you're going to play the lone wolf and you're going to just do it you and your family and that's it, I wish you the best of luck because, again, and I've said this many times, what happens when dad or mom gets hurt and sick, right? And so who picks up the slack? There's nobody to pick up the slack. So there's nobody to watch 24 hours a day. And you can't stay up 24 hours a day if you're one or two people. It's just not possible. It's not possible, which leaves you in a position of vulnerability. So there's a lot, folks, that goes into the whole thing, the whole equation and the thinking process, and why do we do what we do? When people say, well, why do you prep? You know, um, because you never know. And with prepping, when those normal disasters happen, which again, in a true SHTF situation, does that mean that normal disasters stop? Do they not happen anymore? Well, of course not. They're going to continue to happen. And there's going to be continuing to be flooding and fires and hurricanes and tornadoes and ice storms and blizzards. You know, all that's still going to happen. The only difference is nobody's coming to save the day after that disaster. Nobody's going to come in and say, we're going to rescue. What they just had, I think in Kentucky, right? They had 9 people died because of the flooding, and they had over 1,000 rescues. Think about that, okay? 1,000 people got rescued with that flooding and stuff like that, okay? Well, what happens when nobody's coming? Who's rescuing those 1,000 people? Unless the local people are there trying to help and rescue those people, nobody's coming to save the day. So we're on our own. So again, does that mean I want to be down in a valley down by the river? Not me, not this kid. No way, no how. I want the high ground. And yeah, is it going to be colder in the wintertime? Absolutely it will, okay? But if I can control the high ground, I really don't have to worry about flooding in general. Now, there's, like I said, as we all know, anybody who's watched this channel knows, I had the culvert wash out of my driveway. So, that has to be fixed, obviously. But in an SHTF situation, you do what you got to do. It's an unfortunate situation that happened. We had a large volume of water in a very short period of time. It's not normal. It wasn't a normal storm that we normally get. So, it happens. What are you going to do? You deal with it. You go, okay, well, that sucked. And now you try to make it better for the next time. So what do we got to do here for that? We need a bigger culvert. We got to make sure we cement in that front end of it very strongly. So when we get those huge amounts of rains coming through, that we're going to be okay. But even if you were stuck there for a while, you got everything you need. Exactly, Don. And that's exactly right. It's not like I all of a sudden go, oh my God, I have to get out. I don't have to get out. I got everything that I need right here, and I can hunker down. And if it's a week, 10 days, 2 weeks, a month, 6 weeks, 2 months, whatever, you know, will I run out of regular milk? I will. But guess what? I got powdered milk. So, I would have that. I got plenty of water here at the homestead, plenty of water. I'll give you an example of something that happened today. Okay. Now, so because we've had this cold streak again, all the totes are frozen, right? Not getting any water out of any of the totes. So, in anticipation of that, I have like 20 gallons of water um, in the house here. And I also have 6 gallons of water in my Berkey. So, I mean, I got plenty of water. I let the puppies out this morning. And the first thing that Hella did is she took those puppies down to the spring down by Rob's place so they could all get a drink. Because guess what? That water's not frozen because it's always moving. It's always moving. So she took those puppies down there. Now I took obviously and got water from in here in anticipation. I knew that they, so I filled their water dish and I put that back, in their building for them. So, those are things again, planning ahead, thinking ahead, what works, what doesn't work, what do I got to do? What lessons have I learned? I've learned the hard way every time. Every time I've learned the hard way, But Ed, are you worried about neighbors who posted that no trespassing signs on your road for your group to see? No, not at all. No, that has nothing to do. That's just they're letting First of all, they know I don't hunt. Okay, so that those signs are not for me or my group. That's just to let anybody else that comes down through there, which very few do, know that that's private property and it's not to be hunted. So I'm not worried about that at all. I saw those. I don't have any of those up anywhere. I didn't put any of those signs up anywhere. So it's just people know what my property is. They know what my territory is, and they generally don't mess with that. So I like that, And there's a lot of respect. Here's a difference between suburbia, the city, and the country. In the country, people have a lot more respect for each other. You don't screw with mine, I won't screw with yours, and it's just a respect thing. You might not like your neighbor, right? Maybe they don't like you. I'm sure there's people that don't like me because I'm a Yankee, right? Because I came from New York. But they leave me alone. They don't bother me. I don't bother them. They live their life. I live my life, and that's it. If I see any of my neighbors, I always wave. If any of my neighbors ever needed my hand for anything, I would help them, regardless if they liked me or not. Okay, so that's just me. That's my thing. Now, they go out of their way to help me? I don't know. I really don't. But that's not. I don't. I'm not worried about that. I'm gonna do me. I treat everybody with respect and dignity, and that's just the way that I am. And if somebody doesn't like me, that's a their problem, not a me problem. So but that's just you look at the issues that I've had. Okay, Matt, my bulldozer guy, he's a guy that owns an excavator and a bulldozer, so I've obviously utilized him for a lot of work over the last couple of years. And then I have a guy, Danny, you guys know, the gravel guy. Danny's awesome. Love Danny. Danny's a great guy. Okay, if I have an issue, which I've had, right? We had Johnson's car got stuck because he was a Momo and drove down where he shouldn't have drove down there, which he'll never do again. Okay, he'll never do it again. But that's okay. He learned a lesson. Okay, and sometimes lessons are expensive. So, you know, we had to call Matt. I said, Matt, could you come down with your tractor when you get a chance? And he's like, sure, I'll be down this afternoon. And he came down and he pulled him out. Okay. And so, he gave him some money for pulling him out. And I told him, probably give him this amount. And so he did. Like when he helped, like Matt, when he helped with the water, okay, with the culvert out, and he just pushed the gravel in there for now, and he, I said, well, what do I owe you? And he goes, oh, nothing. And I'm like, no, man, I got to give you something. He goes, no, you don't have to give me anything. And I said, I'll tell you what, let me give you some money for gas. So I gave him $40 because guess what? it would have taken me a half a day to move all that gravel into there to cover that up so that I could get in and out. And he did it in 10 minutes. Well worth it to me. Well worth it to me. But I appreciate him. So Ed, has the group done dry runs, etc., drills when SHF and people know how to get to the property? I have talked to the group extensively about knowing several different ways to get down here. If they're driving down here, not just coming on the highway, knowing the back roads, having maps. Now, if they have done that or not done that, I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know. But, you know, it just, we've had a lot of discussions on a lot of things. We're trying to get things squared away and organized. What we're going to do and how we're going to do it. Like, with communications. If somebody was coming in, we have a certain password that they would have to say if they're coming in here. So, like they don't get shot. So we know exactly who it is that's coming in, ahead of time. So, we're going to be on high alert. People are going to be on high alert. So, but, Ed, are you worried about too many people knowing about your bug out location? Not really. Not really, because the reality is this: One World Prepper. When SHTF happens, people are going to have their hands full for a while. Everybody's going to have their hands full. The last thing that anybody's going to want to do is attack a fortified, prepared position. All right, they're not going to want to do that. They're not going to want to go after people that are organized and that are squared away. That's just the stupidest thing that they could possibly do. People will go after soft targets. If you know there's a compound, let's just say, let's say my neighbors, they know I got a compound out here, right? And we're here and we're doing what we have to do, Right, they'll F around and find out. Well, some will take that chance and they'll find out. And that's gonna, but I think the best way is to try to work with your neighbors if you can. If there's any way possible that you can work with your neighbors, I think you should try to do that. But if the power goes out, how will you know it's nationwide? If the power goes out, the majority of people are going to sit tight no matter what anyway. If all of a sudden your phones aren't working, okay, and there's no TV, the power's down, you're not going to know for sure right away. Is it just my area or is it bigger? Um, but if your phones aren't working, folks, that's an issue. That should be a red flag. That would be, that would be my thing for people. If you all of a sudden everything is down and you have zero communication, that's a red flag. And you got to have a game plan and you got to know what you're doing and you go from there. And that's what I think everybody needs to think about. I don't think it'll be an EMP. I honestly don't, because too much infrastructure would be destroyed with an EMP. If you do an attack on the power grid, the infrastructure would still be there and still be able to be turned back on later on. So I don't think you would see it that way. I think it'll be just the grid. And well, CB ham radios, there'll be people out there talking on, this, all that type of stuff, letting people know. And in that way too, there's another way of communication that you'll know, holy crap, this is for real. And the people that are paying attention and have been paying attention, they're going to take care of their business and they're going to know what they need to do. And I think that is, that's the thing you got to think about. But again, now let's say you're traveling, right? Well, if the grid goes down, nobody's plowing those roads, folks. So you have to take into consideration, okay, what was the forecast going to be for this region of the country? Is it going to be clear enough that I can get in my car and get to point B without any obstructions other than the normal obstructions that would be there? So there's a lot that goes into it. You don't want to get stuck on a highway and now you're trying to hump it by foot and you got 150 miles or whatever it is to go. That would not be fun. And it really greatly reduces your chances of making it to where you need to go. So I never did do an egg count today. So real quick, we're at 335 in the chat. We're at 205 on the thumbs up. So once again, if you have not shot a thumbs up yet, I'm going to ask you to do so one more time, please. And I do appreciate that. Again, if you know, it really does make a huge difference with the algorithms. So the more interaction for the channel, the better. Also, if you are not subscribed to the channel, I would ask you to please subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell icon to get all notifications as well. But that could be reality in that situation. Oh, absolutely. It would be very, very difficult. You may have to try to get to where you need to get to on foot. So plan for that. What are we going to do? Or maybe, you know, with a bicycle or something like that, alternate means of transportation. If I have a choice between riding a bicycle and walking, I'm going to take that bicycle every time. I can cover a whole lot more ground in a shorter period of time on a bicycle. I will remind people I'm gonna keep this going for a little bit longer because I do want to talk about more of this. If you are traveling on foot, you are only going to go as fast as the slowest person in your group. Remember that. So if you got grandma with you and grandma can only walk 5 miles in a day, you're going to go 5 miles a day. Now do the math. How long is that going to take you to get to where you need to go? Do you have the supplies to be able to last that long? All that type of stuff. Okay. So let's do an egg count real quick, guys. How many eggs today? And again, 5 hens, okay? How many eggs today? And yes or no for Miss Betty White. So we will go from there, and we'll let you guys get your guesses in, and we'll go from there. A grid down situation will be a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. And you know, having a bug out bag and all that type of stuff is great, but how much food are you carrying in that bug out bag? 3-4 days worth of food, maybe, if you're lucky, right? Think about it. I mean, what are you carrying in there? Every bit of weight that you're carrying is adding on to what you got to do. So, all right. If you had the same exact guess, he's getting right back on where he started when we ended doing them before. DJ, if you have the same exact guess as DJ with 3 eggs today, and yes for Miss Betty White, then you are 100% correct. So congratulations to DJ. You've won absolutely nothing, but you are happy about it. So there we are. No, I was really happy to see the 3 eggs today. I actually had I made some eggs today. That was my breakfast. So I had 4 eggs this morning. Sunny side up. Well, Hella helps me. She helps me eat them. But so yeah, I'm back. TJ goes. He's probably won more than anybody else. Yeah, he's the goat at guessing the egg count. But guys, really, the reality is there's a real possibility that we could have a grid down situation, a prolonged grid down situation. And it would not be pretty, and it would be ugly really, really fast. So again, if you have an area that you're going to go to, a place that you plan on going to for your bug out location, my advice to all of you would be get there as quickly as you possibly can. The first sign of trouble, get there and do what you got to do. Take care of your business. Safety in numbers, remember that. That's really, really important. So some things to think about. Again, planning ahead, being ready for those type of situations. That's what you got to do. All right. I am going to jump off here for now. I hope you all have a great night. I will see you all Sunday for the live stream Sunday, 8 o'clock on Sunday. So I will see you all then. Please be safe. We're going to be warmer tomorrow. Oh, I was going to tell you real quick about the weather. I forgot to tell you about this one. So I originally saw that tomorrow was going to be 40 degrees, right? I'm like, all right, that's not bad. 20s overnight, which has been warmer than it's been during the day in the last several days. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. That'll be nice. Then they brought it down and said, oh, it's going to be 36 for the high, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, well, it's still. Then it went from 36 to 39. And then I just looked before I started the live stream, and now they're saying tomorrow's high is going to be 41. So whatever the case is, it's going to be. Hopefully, the snow starts melting, which will be great. I'm looking forward to that. So, guys, listen, be safe. I will talk to you all later. Have a great night. Prepper Nurse 1 out for now.